Chairperson, just to indicate, according to the currently available information, the current workload per prosecutor in lower courts is split between the work of the district court and the regional court, as the types of cases vary significantly. The breakdown of the split is as follows. The outstanding cases per prosecutor in the district courts amounts to 80 cases per prosecutor. The outstanding cases per prosecutor in the regional court amounts to 53 cases per prosecutor. Apart from the criminal court work, prosecutors in both district and regional courts have dealt on average with 207 decision dockets in the past financial year. The number of verdict cases finalized in the past financial year per prosecutor in the district court is 105 cases per prosecutor. In the regional court is 26 cases per prosecutor. When we look at international case load, the prosecutor in South Africa deal with average workload that is not outside the norm. For example, countries with the highest average number of cases per prosecutor include Ireland, Italy, Spain, France, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Australia, with figures ranging from 700 to 700,000 cases per prosecutor annually. In Austria alone, the average prosecutor received 2,821 cases per year. In France, it's 2,893 cases per year. In Denmark, 905. In Switzerland, it's between 2,000 and 3,000 cases per prosecutor per year. From this example, it is clear that South African prosecutors are not overburdened with unreasonable case loads as compared to other countries. Therefore, there is no link that can be established or that we have been able to establish in the past between the current workload and the conviction rate. Thus, conviction rates do not fluctuate as such due to the workloads, but they vary mostly with different type. The type of cases as well as the kind of evidence presented to the court mostly affected the conviction rates, but also other matters that will do in terms of delay of court procedures. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Minister. And Honorable Godsell, I'm sure you have a follow-up to that.
I do. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Minister, so I don't think my stats are far off from yours, but in my research, it's come to light that many prosecutors in the lower courts, the district courts, are managing upwards of 200 active dockets at a time. Now, I think you will agree with me that this is clearly unsustainable. And if you say that this is not outside the norm, we must also remember that we don't know what circumstances prosecutors in Italy, Ireland, Spain, etc. work under. Now, the conditions that our prosecutors work under, you cannot reasonably expect them to read their files, consult with witnesses, prepare for trial, and conduct legal research, all within the constraints of a normal working day. So my question is, what concrete measures has your department implemented or proposed, including the appointment of additional prosecutors, entertaining the DA's idea of a pilot project which involves final year LLB students, administrative support, or the streamlining of caseload management to ensure that the criminal justice system does not collapse under the weight of its own inefficiencies?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Back to you, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Godsell. I think we agree on the stats. I don't think we'll have to go further. Maybe if we can go further and look at the circumstances. The fact remains, based on the statistics, they are not functioning out of the norm. That's the first thing. So we can't utilize the stats when it suits us differently. The fact is that we've done comparative with other peers. They are actually, in some instances, having less workload than the other. And where the prosecutor have concerns about the workload, they have an opportunity to raise it with their supervisor to be able to say, because this case is demanding, can I be offloaded others? So those mechanisms are your normal management processes that can be handled in an organization where there is challenges and the issues of complexity of cases. Now, number two, I hope you are not saying that we must take people who are not properly trained as prosecutors to go and be prosecutors. Because remember, that's why we have a program that is called Aspirant prosecutors. This takes LLB students who are graduating to come and be trained as prosecutors, because you do not want to be challenged legally, where somebody says, I was meant to be defended by this person, or the state was meant to fight our case, but they send an inexperienced or a person who's not yet fully qualified to go and fight this case, and therefore that's why we lost. Because you must remember, we are in a litigious environment, and these are lives that we are dealing with that could never be recovered. Once you try once, you can't go and try twice. So there is no space for experiment in a courtroom. We've got to send the people who are trained, fully experienced, or even if they are to go as aspirant after graduating, they must be supervised as we do. So I do think that the current system at NPA, with working with aspirant prosecutors, it's one of the good examples. What we could be arguing for, honorable member, is perhaps increase of numbers of intakes per annual, per financial year, so that we have more of them being trained. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question will be presented to the Honourable Madupe from the African National Congress. Honourable Madupe.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Let me welcome the response from the Minister. And my follow-up question, Minister, is to confirm with you as to whether the department has an integrated caseload management strategy, and how often is this strategy reviewed, and against what factors? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Madupe. Back to you, please, Minister, for response to that.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Madupe. Yes, indeed, we are monitoring the caseload, and this we do not only in relation to prosecutors, but across the value chain. You'd understand, for a case to move in a court in terms of caseload, being able to be processed, it needs your support of interpreters in court, clerks being there, the magistrate or the judge being there. One of the issues as we looked at case backlog was to understand where the challenges are in terms of ensuring that issues can be dealt with. Sometimes you find that even let's say in Gauteng, you'd find that the judge president there sometimes would assign a particular case so that it can finish if and it runs non-stop. So it's those, then you've got to be able to provide the relevant people, prosecutor, clerk, interpreter, legal aid if it's needed, and all those things. So what we are doing, we've set up a task team which monitors the caseload. So paying attention, who amongst the role players drags the processes of finalization of court cases and causing a backlog in cases in the courtroom. So that is done. And that's why, honorable members, I welcome the decision by the judge president in Gauteng of mediation, because this will come very handy for all of us that are dealing with cases there, to ensure that court time is not wasted, and therefore those that are able to have to focus on utilization of a court role properly can be able to. So there's quite a lot of interventions that are being done to deal with caseload, not only on the basis of NPA, but the entire value chain. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. And we go again to the Honourable Gericke for a supplementary question. Honourable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, given that there's a tremendous workload on prosecutors that sometimes unknowingly make them to fail in some instances, what interventions have you taken to improve, innovate, or overhaul the system technologically or otherwise to make it more effective and to secure more guilty findings? Also, again, the question of digitization. We understand there are some officers that do not have technology, where prosecutors do not have technology. That is a question, Minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gericke. Back to you, Minister, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Gericke. Where I'm sitting, I'm not aware of prosecutors who are sitting where they do not have technology. All prosecutors are expected to have their work laptops or a desktop which are able to connect, because for them to receive cases in many of these places, they should be able to get it through the connection in terms of their work. So that's what we are doing, honorable members. The second area, honorable member, in that matter is that in terms of digitization, you note that, for example, the judiciary has started to roll out a court online system. This does help as well in terms of processing of court. I know this is with civil cases mainly, and this does help with that. So we do believe that once it's also rolled to criminal cases across the country, it will definitely help in terms of ensuring that the workload, you don't have to carry papers a lot. You are able to go online, you can file, you can upload. When the lawyers are extended, you can be able to see what is uploaded. So it's one of the systems that we're looking forward to being able to be rolled out by the judiciary across, and fully functional court online would assist in reducing the workload. As I said, the issue of comparatively with other countries, we do not believe that our prosecutors are actually overloaded. But if there is one that feels that way within the management system, honorable members, it does exist, where the intervention can be made for that particular individual so that they can be able to have less cases if there is one that they're working on that is highly demanding for the support. And sometimes they're given, for example, they have senior prosecutor giving junior prosecutors to support in case of high workload. So those interventions in terms of management are there. And that's why consistent recruitment of both in terms of permanent and contractors, but also extended to Section 38 where specialized needs is needed. It is what is available and we currently utilize. So those are the interventions that are being implemented currently to support the prosecutors, who majority of them, by the way, honorable members, have been doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Minister. The next supplementary question on this will go to the Honourable Breert of the Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, in light of your response that prosecutors are not overworked, how would you, Honourable Minister, then account for ongoing reports of delays, postponements, and cases being struck off the roll due to incomplete case files or lack of trial readiness, particularly in high-volume lower courts? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Breert. Your response, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Breert. I think, as I said earlier on, the delays in a courtroom and in terms of case backlog is not only because of prosecutors. I think that we should be able to. For example, I received a complaint in the Mthatha Magistrate Court where an interpreter left court during a recess to go and drink. That's why we suspended that interpreter who's going through DC. So you'd find in some cases it's legal aid. You find in some cases it's the magistrates. So sometimes you find equipments are not working. So we're looking at that. That's why I spoke about a team that is managing and monitoring case backlog between ourselves as the department and all role players, even including the police, because an investigator needs to arrive with a well-prepared case to be able to. In some instances where you have cases withdrawn, there are various cases, for example, where, and that's why you've got to deal. You know, one of the things I've learned after being here is that in these cases, you've got to deal with a specific case and understand what has been the circumstances around either it being withdrawn or thrown out of court, and then you deal with it. It's not one uniform reason for all the cases that you see. For example, I can tell you now, when you look at the Cholota matter, it's the extradition. But as well, you look at that, it's just the signing of a letter by a minister. But the memo in terms of approval, meaning the minister has given consent, is available. So it's those various. So what we needed to do is correct the letter or even submit the memo to court to say, actually, the minister has actually given approval. So it's those things that you look at different times and be able to evaluate on a case by case why this case has been thrown out and why it has been delayed. And you'd understand in the process as well, prosecutors have to apply a strategy where they see, if I see that there is more information that I need as a strategy not to lose the case, you can suspend it. It's allowed by law. So we shouldn't see withdrawal of a case as the end. What we need to start monitoring, and I said this to the NDPP, is that how many cases that we've voluntarily withdrawn have we been able to re-enroll, so that we can monitor that we've been able to do within our strategy, which is allowed in law as prosecutorial strategy, where you still need information. So that's what I can say, Honorable Priet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. We move on to question number 170, asked by Advocate Nkosi Nonkonyana. It relates to the briefing patterns of attorneys and advocates by the organs of state. If we can have your reply in 5 minutes, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think in this area, I must concede upfront that one of the things that we'll have to put as systems is and we are currently doing, is the monitoring of the briefing pattern. So the government-wide capacity and system to monitor is still lacking in terms of outsourcing of legal work patterns. And it, however, in terms of the briefing pattern cases outsourced to private practitioners through the Office of the State Attorneys on behalf of the national and provincial field. So what happens in the provinces, you find that the provincial government requests a particular attorneys. And I must say, Honorable Member, Honorable Botsel earlier on spoke about the work that is being done by the Western Cape government in terms of briefing. That work is actually done together with the state attorneys in the Western Cape. They are not doing it alone. They have found mechanism, and that's what we are also using. That's why the current acting Solicitor General is the one who implemented that system in the Western Cape as head of the provincial team there in terms of the work. So we do think that, honorable members, there's more work that needs to be done, especially in terms of transformation, to ensure that all those that are previously disadvantaged are also done. As I'm saying that, I need to be upfront acknowledging where the weaknesses are. For example, one of the issues that I get as a complaint more is that we are finding more that we brief advocates or we brief attorneys, and then you find that those that we brief, we have given work, sometimes we do not pay on time, or we even subject their invoices to cost consultants who reduces them. And one of the allegations that I've received was that this is done to mainly Black advocates and Black attorneys, is not done to other races. And therefore, some of the colleagues are arguing that we are actually exercising racism within state attorney. This is mainly the allegation in relation to our attorney's office in Johannesburg. But again, Chair, I must acknowledge upfront that some of the challenges because of capacity. Over time, because of budget cuts, you'd know that this financial year we've had 2 billion cut as the department. We are not able to fill to the capacity, especially in attorney's office, that we need. So you find one attorney here, in terms of the burden, it exists compared to what we were seeing in the prosecutors. In state attorneys, in terms of the capacity that we need versus what we have, there's a huge shortfall. The other part that we need to deal with is also to indicate that the legal sector code existed to specifically transform our sector. And unfortunately, as we work towards this and the implementation, we've been taken to court in terms of the Legal Sector Code Charter Council and also by Norton Rose and others. We hope that we can be able to agree that the sector has to transform. We can't continue to have a skewed sector, and therefore all parties getting out of court and finding mechanism to implement the transformation that is so much needed in this area. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable Nkonyana, would you like to ask a follow-up question to the Minister?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honourable Minister and my colleagues. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your candidness and your honest reply to my question. Honourable Minister, I'm sure the Honourable Minister is aware and will agree that the recent revelations of briefings by one state-owned entity to one single law firm to the tune of over 80% of its legal costs is not only embarrassing, but anti-transformation, as you indicated. What is the plan of the department to ensure that briefings are aligned to strategic imperatives of empowering the
Honorable Nonkonyana, I think your line has frozen halfway through your question. Would you like to turn your video off and try and complete your question? Honorable Minister, I'm not sure if you got enough of a clue of where the question was going, but in the absence of his ability to conclude the question, do you have a response for us, please, Minister?
Yes, I think I did get the gist of the question around the briefing patterns and also indicating one company that has benefited from one state-owned entity to the value of 80% of the work, legal work. And my response there and the intervention is what we have done, introduced the legal sector code charter and targets there. That is meant for honorable members to transform in terms of ownership patterns and management in the sector, to actually change the issue of briefing patterns and developmental. So both by government, but also by private sector, because when that company is given brief in the manner that is able to give other people under the attorneys a brief, it needs to be more transformative. So we do believe that, hence I raised the issue that if the colleagues such as Norton Rose, the companies that have taken us to court, such as Norton Rose and others, if they could pull out of court, because to be honest with you, what we have here is embarrassment. 30 years down the line, we're still talking about making sure that we can be able to bring those who were previously disadvantaged to the fore to participate. Similarly, you talk to young advocates who are failing to run offices, they are not receiving enough briefs, and therefore maintaining an office is expensive. You look at black young women, colored young women, Indian young women, who are battling to find a footing. And the consequence of this, honorable members, is that as they leave the sector, you're going to look for them. When you're looking for judges to come and take the bench, there's no one available because they've left. So it's important for us to ensure that we can sustain, we can transform, and keep them within the sector, and we don't lose them. They've done so well to go far and get the qualification, become advocates. And our responsibility is for us to work towards keeping them within the sector so that they can add value into the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity for a follow-up passes to the Honourable Pienaar. Honourable Pienaar.
Thank you, dankie, agbare huisvoorsitter en dankie minister vir jou teenwoordigheid hier vandag. Minister, can you commit to this House today, taking into account what you just said about especially the financials? Will the system monitoring briefing patterns also monitor performance and cost efficiency to ensure that government's legal work is allocated in a cost-effective manner that ensures professional accountability? Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Pienaar. Minister, back to you for a reply to that, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Pienaar. I think you are raising one of the most important key elements of this, accountability and transparency. It is important for us to be transparent in the manner that we do our work, but also accountable, because some of the issues do go into the issues around corruption, where people would want to charge more but not deliver. So it's that balancing that we've got. When I met with the LSSA and also black professionals in the sector, was the issue that we've got to be able to hold each other accountable. Where one of us does wrong, we should be able to, but also the quality of work, so that we do not sometimes find the embarrassment, because I get lashed out by ministers to say your offices have forced us to have this advocate who could not argue our case, and therefore we've lost it. So it's not about the lowest cost for us, but it's also about efficient management of our resources, but also the quality of work that needs to become out. So it's that work that we've got. For example, some of the things that we are doing, starting in state attorneys' offices across, is to say managers must be able to manage. Litigation management, let's not go to court when it's absolutely not necessary for us to go to court. Because sometimes you just find that people just want to go to court. But again, the feedback is that the client department, let's say they're going on behalf of her, does not give them the brief. So part of what I've agreed to is that I would do a preparatory meeting or engagement with my colleagues in national government. But another issue is to do a roadshow to provincial executives, sit with them and make them understand why sometimes we have a lot of money that we are spending in litigation when we are not supposed to. So that is one of the areas that we need to be working on, and will continue to improve on it.
Thank you very much, Minister. Before we move on, can I just ask the table to make sure that the timer is stopped, reset, and started for the next question? And the next supplementary question will come from the Honourable Aris from the Freedom Fighters. Honourable Aris?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, the allocation of legal work to all legal professionals, in particular Black professionals, is of utmost importance in the process of procuring services for the state. The EFF notes with concern that not enough legal briefs are given to senior Black advocates. Why is it the case? And how do you envisage to correct this situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Aris. Minister, you've partly answered that, but would you like to give some more information on it, please?
Thank you very much. I'm happy with Honourable Aris, the approach, because in the NA, the Honourable Member of EFF was telling me about insourcing, because we do have the opportunity to actually brief advocates, but also help them run successful businesses as advocates and run successful offices. So it is important for us to continue. I agree with you, Honourable Member, in terms of transformation and also sustaining them. My intervention is not only about the briefs, but also ensuring that they can be paid on time. So we're starting to monitor the provinces, the offices, to ensure that there are no delays. I still get a lot of people saying, I've done work, 30 days have passed, 60 days have passed, I've not been paid. And that's one of the critical areas that will be important, because if we do not pay them on time, they will not be able to sustain themselves. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Minister. We're nearing the end of question number 170, but the last supplementary question will come from the Honourable Farmer of the Patriotic Alliance.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, I will not switch. Honourable Chairperson, I will not switch on my camera due to a bandwidth issue. I hope I'm audible.
You are indeed audible. Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Minister, I suspect you did touch on this answer already, but my question is, will the department conduct and transformation audits of briefing patterns, and are there consequences for departments failing to meet those equity targets? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Farmer. And Minister, as I hand back to you for a response to the supplementary question, I'd just like to confirm that the next question will be introduced by the Honourable Khadebe. Thank you, Minister. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I think the issue here, in terms of, I think others have responded to, the issue of consequence management will continue to be able to do, but it will be difficult because these are departments. And that's why we think the tightening up of the sector codes and compliance matters would assist us, because they are binding and would have to report according to those. Consequence management will be with our team, where they are not paying, which we are already doing, where there's been delays in brief, there's not support for the colleagues that are supposed to support us or who are appointed as advocates, but also payments. So those we are already doing monitoring, and where we find that there's been deliberate action of not paying a senior advocate or a service provider or anyone who's appointed to assist us, we do take action in that regard. And that ranges from either suspension or DC processes for the individuals who are implicated. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Minister. I note Mr. Khadebe is not unmuted, so we can then move on, I think,
Honourable Chairperson.
you're there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson Ryder. Honorable Minister, we are now coming to question number 167, asked by Honorable Kharik, which deals with the Magistrate Commission. Can you give a response, please?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Kharik. We reaffirm our commitment to supporting and ensuring that our country has a strong and independent judiciary. The strengthening of the Magistrates Commission certainly forms part of ongoing policy discussion towards ensuring that it carries out its mandate more efficiently. The issue of having full-time commissioners has not been formally brought to the attention of the Minister. And accordingly, I will engage with the Magistrate Commission on the matter through the Deputy Minister who is deployed, delegated to deal with this matter. However, I must indicate, honorable members, what has been brought to the attention and the Commission is looking at is the issue of capacity, technical capacity. So it is acknowledged that this was a major issue hampering the finalization of disciplinary hearing. However, I've been informed that the situation has improved vastly in the last 2 years, with more magistrates willing to be appointed to lead evidence and preside over disciplinary hearings. The Commission has also utilized the services of retired judges and magistrates where necessary and will continue to do so going forward. The Magistrate Commission currently has 5 senior magistrates, 2 on secondment in its Ethics Division to support the Commission with complaints against magistrate. The Commission at its last meeting held on 2nd to the 3rd June 2025 began a process of reviewing the capacity of the division to assist with the investigations and disciplinary hearing. It is hoped that the Commission will finalize this aspect at its scheduled meeting in August 2025. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the elaborate answer. Honorable Kharik, any follow-up question or comment?
Yes, Chair, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for that clear and honest answer that you have been given here. But given that the work of the Magistrates Commission must be reprioritized to give effect to transparency, clean administration, and quicker outcomes, the only way to do so is to allocate dedicated personnel to the Commission. Asking whether the Minister has conducted research on the cost, human resource, and logistics to transform the current system, and if so, what was the outcome? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kharik. There are currently dedicated officials that are working in the Magistrate Commission. What we are looking at is to say whether they are sufficient or whether we need to increase. That is the work that the Commission itself will do. I must take this opportunity, honorable members, to indicate that we held a meeting together with the executive and the judiciary. The executive led by the President, the judiciary led by Judge Meyer, Chief Justice Meyer. Now, in this regard, we have agreed to work towards full implementation of the independence of the judiciary. This means that because we started with phase 1, where you had the establishment of the department called the Office of the Chief Justice, which currently operates, the second phase and the third phase was paused. Now we have decided to resume that and give full powers of the judiciary to be led by the Chief Justice, and this work continues. But secondly, what we have also agreed to is that there must be a single judiciary. So meaning that the superior courts, the lower court, and the district court will form part of one single judiciary, and that part of work that we will be doing. So if there is identification of the gaps as we do, what we will do as the department towards working, because what we are looking at is to ensure that when we establish that full independent judiciary, we utilize the format of the parliament. And what we will do and utilizing the legislative, as we do that review, all these issues will be incorporated into that. And as part of transitional mechanisms, we'll work with the judiciary to ensure that where the gaps are existing, we do close those gaps. So it's work that is in progress, honorable member, and we understand the importance of it and the sensitivity, especially in cases where magistrates have been reported, and therefore the cases needs to be concluded in time so that if there is wrongdoing, it doesn't continue in those areas of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Phala, the delegate from Limpopo, the home of the baobab trees.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good afternoon, Minister.
Afternoon.
Honorable Minister, we really appreciate your reply on these issues. And allow me, Minister, first of all, to express our sincere appreciation on the ongoing wonderful leadership of your department in the transformation of our judiciary, as well as strengthening the lower courts, which are located at the coalface of serving justice to the most needy and vulnerable. However, Honorable Minister, in light of the current constraints of national fiscus, will the department conduct a cost-benefit analysis of the most viable options available at the lower cost, the lower cost? And if so, what are the details, Minister? Thank you, Chair.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Parliament. I think the issue here, because the Commission itself has started the work to do an analysis, we would allow them to conclude this work in terms of analysis of the impact of their work, in terms of as the Commission. And once they have done that, we'll be able to incorporate that and support. Yes, we do take cognizance, as we said, that we always have a shrinking budget, but we've been engaging with the National Treasury, especially in terms of the support for the judiciary, to be able to look at it because it's another arm of the state. Previously, what has been happening is that National Treasury will look at the budget and see it as a budget of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, not as a budget that is the judiciary budget. So we are arguing that it must be seen as a support towards a standalone arm of the state and not inconveniencing. We are having this conversation and we are looking forward to a positive outcome in our engagement with the National Treasury in this regard. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question, follow-up question, comes from Honorable Press, the delegate from the Eastern Cape Home of Legends. Over to
Good afternoon.
Honorable Press.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Minister. Both the main questions are shockingly misguided and display an inappropriate level of ignorance of the composition, responsibilities, and the mandate of the Magistrates Commission. Now, having said that, as a serving commissioner in the commission myself, I noticed the underrepresentation of regional and district court magistrates on the commission. Will you consider the appointment of more regional court and district court magistrates to the commission in order for the commission to be more representative of the magistracy itself?
Over to Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brett. As a person who's sitting there, I am actually, as I said earlier on, the recommendation will have to come from the commission itself so that we are able to look at it and make a recommendation for the president to appoint. So currently, as I got feedback, as you know, the GM sits in the magistrate court, is that a meeting has set to review some of the issues, to look at the gaps. Perhaps maybe that's what will come as a report. And I'm looking forward to that report, because you can't just act without having a proper analysis and the report that says, and as you could have heard me, I said we will not do an analysis ourselves as the department. We are allowing the magistrate themselves, Magistrate Commission itself, to be the one that finishes its process so that we can be able to inform the interventions that are required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Brett, the delegate from the Free State, the Central Province.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair Khadebe. Honourable Minister, thank you for that answer. And I understand that you said that you are capacitating the Magistrates Commission. But I would like to know what mechanisms are being considered to strengthen the independence and effectiveness of the Magistrates Commission, irrespective of just the capacity, particularly in ensuring that disciplinary inquiries are conducted without fear, favor, or reluctance, and that members, can carry out their work consistently and without a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Brett. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Khatebe. There is no interference in Magistrate Commission. My understanding is that the Magistrate Commission functions fully independently, and that's why it's got representatives of Parliament, honorable members who sit on behalf of Parliament, both the houses in the Magistrate Court. Also can be able to share, I think, as Honorable Brett was saying, who can be able to share some of the experiences if there are difficulties, but where I'm sitting, I'm not aware of any interference or any inhibiting of the Magistrate Commission being able to do the work. My understanding is that they've been able to do their work without fear or favor. That's why they've been able to make recommendation of dismissals of magistrates. So that's my understanding, unless if Honorable Briet has different information that he can provide so that we can follow up on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I would just like to address the delegates that my video is off, because if I can turn it on, I'll be thrown off the platform, as it happened when I was joining in. So the next question, Honorable Minister, now we come to question number 155, asked by Honorable Zulu. The question deals with the issues of the credit for. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just my apologies, I think, let me just get the written one on the credit for. My apologies for that. Chairperson, just to indicate that the NPA is committed to ensuring justice for apartheid-era crimes so that families can find closure and begin the healing process. We acknowledge that our country's history is besmirched with unspeakable acts of gross human rights violation committed under a veil of secrecy. A large volume of TRC cases remains unresolved. Families deserve that justice be served and have repeatedly demanded the truth. To get justice, we must first establish the truth about how victims met his or her demise. You'd note, Chair, as it is evident in the current proceedings of the CRADOC 4, evidence has been led from important witnesses, including the loved ones of Mrs. Boniwe, Mhlauli, Mkonto, and Zalat, which throws the light on what transpired in 1985. I must indicate, Chair, that we remain committed that this work is important and all support needs to be given to ensure that all cases where the inquest needs to be done, specifically on the CRADOC 4. We did apologize to the families for the delay, but explain some of the difficulties. Initially, there were challenges around the issue of supporting the families, which we have been able to do that, ensuring that all the families of the victims are able to have support. And we do believe that in terms of the inquest itself, as the schedule between the 2 and the 4th, as we have indicated, it will continue without interruption, and we'll continue to monitor the work. But also, I must say, if you note that we have also had a process where the families felt that there's been a blockage in terms of the inquest itself, the Galata 4 and other TRC-related matters. They had to go to court in Pretoria High Court to say to us that there's been actually blockage of prosecution of TRC cases. And that led to the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry. So with that work, we do believe from the state that all the truth will be laid bare. And I can assure you, Chair, that as the state has not been deliberate act to stop the prosecution, I'm sitting as the minister working around the clock to ensure that those that needs to go to court needs to go to court, and all other matters that we need to find closure as per the Parliament report that we received, ensuring that the houses that needs to be rebuilt are rebuilt, the community projects that needs to be done are done. And I must report that, Chair, in terms of the gallows project, we almost at the end and will finalize it this year as part of our work in the TRC Commission work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Zulu, any follow-up question or comment?
No, thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Khatebe. Greetings to Minister Kubai. Minister, following the 2021 High Court ruling that criticized the NPA for political interference in TRC cases, what reforms have been implemented to prevent future failures? How does the department plan to restore public confidence in justice for apartheid victims, including the CREDOC 4? Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, and thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Zulu. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Zulu, for the question. I think we remain committed. We did note the issue of the submission on 2021, and it's a matter that we are dealing with at the Pretoria High Court. Let me assure you that what we have done now, for example, including the issue of changing the regulation that has to do with legal aid, allowing Legal Aid South Africa to support victims as they go to inquest, because previously there was no such support, financial support for legal representatives of the victims. So being able to do those will allow for even many others to be able to find the closures and be represented in the court. Another area that we looked at was support to the families, because many of them will have to travel from areas where they're staying to go and attend the court. So it's a matter that we have taken as a decision in the department as part of supporting the victims to go and be able to arrive at the court and testify and tell what has happened. But more so, again, paying attention to the persons of interest so that they also appear in court to answer. What is unfortunate sometimes is that you find that the crime scene have been altered. Sometimes in cases you find that some people are no longer there. But if we look at the report that NPA is producing in terms of this TRC matters, you'll see that quite a number of them are being opened up, and there's accountability, and we are monitoring this. And we've committed that we'll regularly table these reports to Parliament, because that's what is expected from us. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Mujupi, a delegate from Bukoni Purima. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khatebe. Honorable Minister, allow me, on behalf of the families of CREDOC 4 and people of South Africa, to thank the department for ensuring that justice is served to the victim and families of the CREDOC. Also, the support to the victims. Honorable Minister, my follow-up question is whether the department has conducted any due risk analysis of factors that may compromise these cases. If so, what are the mitigating strategies for such risks? For example, what contingency measures has the department put in place to deal with some of the suspects who may plead poverty or unaffordability to pay legal costs? So I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mujupi. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mujupi. In terms of the CREDOC 4, the risk that remained is in relation to the person of interest that used to work in the Department of Defense, who has claimed that they are not able to afford a legal representative, but also saying that they did the action as per instruction under their commanders in the defense, and therefore the state has a responsibility to pay for their legal costs. That is a matter that is ongoing. We are engaging we are engaging defense so that we can see that this matter does not become an inhibitor in terms of concluding this process. In other persons of interest, for example, those who are in SAPS, have been represented, and SAPS have been able to provide minimum support in terms of finance, so that in the interest of the truth, so that they do not deny or they do not agree to being able to take a stand or being named, as we would have had on the opening, where some of them were arguing that their names should not be read out until such that their legal matters or financial support for their representatives is sorted out. So we will continue to pay attention to this. One of the risks that we had previously, as I said, it was us supporting the victims, which we had closed that, and therefore that has open the way for us to be able to conclude the work that you are doing. Thank you very much, Honorable Magistrate.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Bishop from the province of Mpumalanga, the province of the Rising Sun.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. I haven't seen sun for quite some time, so Mpumalanga is not doing well with regard to that. Minister, you have now acknowledged the long-standing failures of your department, and given that nearly 4 decades have passed since the brutal murder of the Cradock Four, what concrete and time-bound actions will the department take beyond symbolic statements to ensure that this inquest is not another performative gesture? And more importantly, will you, Minister, commit to an independent mechanism to fast-track all the other outstanding TRC cases so that victims, families across the country are not forced to rely on political will for justice, but can rely on the rule of law? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bishop. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope, and thanks, Honorable Bishop, though I hope you do understand the nature of what an inquest is. I got worried in how you are describing what is expected out of it. I'm not so sure if we do have the same understanding of what an inquest is. And similarly, you're talking about long outstanding failures of the department. I don't think they're long outstanding. You see, Honorable Bishop, the issue of inquest, and especially dealing with apartheid crimes, you need a witness, you need a crime scene, you need the victims to, or somebody to tell you these are the people. Now, in relation to some of these cases, you find that there's not even a single person that is still alive who can even point on the crime scene. Secondly, you find that in the areas where the inquest is, because the prosecuting team has to reconstruct the case. They have to be, so that they don't go and say you call an inquest. You find that it's just a talk show, it's not adding value. It's not something that can be able to say, these are the people of interest that would have been involved in the murders, that would have been involved in the heinous crimes. And therefore, so there can be, I mean, to suggest that a political party such as the NC, which is the victim actually in this case, because majority of the people who have been killed are members of the liberation movement, to say that they can be able to do political posturing rather than a real repatriation and reconciliation properly and being able to give justice, I think it's quite rich, honestly speaking. I don't think where I'm sitting, any of the members who have seen their brothers, who have seen their sisters, who have seen their fathers, who have seen their neighbors being killed, can go into government and walk in and say deliberately, I'm going to make sure that there is no truth about it. So it's something that we've got to be cognizant about and sensitive about, because many of the people, their wounds are not healed. And in the manner that we deal with this matter must be sensitive to those pains, to those wounds, so that we can help South Africa to heal. It's not only those families that must heal, but the entire society must be able to heal. There are many, many South Africans that today are still asking questions about their whereabouts, and even inquests are not going to be able to help them. We must be sensitive to that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Teza, the delegate from the province of the Rising Sun.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Let me first start off by saying that the EFF welcomes the decision taken by the National Assembly earlier this month to adopt an EFF motion that will reopen an inquest into the Cradock Four. Can the Minister explain, though, why 3 decades later are we still sitting? Has there been a reluctance and to prosecute perpetrators of apartheid, particularly given her response about witnesses that should be on board first? Couldn't the delay have contributed to more people that are not coming, that would not come on board to assist the department to bring about justice for the perpetrators of apartheid. And given the fact that families of victims had to resort to legal action to compel the state to do what is constitutionally required. And in particular, what role has the NPA and the Department of Justice play in delaying this process and denying justice and closure to millions of South Africans that were affected by apartheid? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Treasurer. I think you'll appreciate the fact that you are actually allowed to ask only one follow-up question, but the discretion is with the Minister whether she'll answer all these questions which you have raised. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, sir. I think I did answer a number of the questions Honorable Member did raise. And again, Honorable Members, that's why the President set up the Commission of Inquiry, because there's an allegation that there's been deliberate sabotaging of TRC cases. Perhaps maybe that will clarify. From where I'm sitting, I do not have evidence of such, that there's been deliberate sabotage of cases that relates to TRC. And that's why we still believe that everybody that has been acting has acted in good faith. If there's been such, those individuals will be pointed out at the commission. They will answer themselves why and how they've done that. I think that's what we can leave it at, because consistently members are insinuating that there's been. Where I'm sitting as the current Minister of Justice, I've looked at information before me. I do not have such in front of me that says that. And I do acknowledge, you know, when we say 30 years down the line of inquest, and I keep on saying, at what point, what information do you have? You know, sometimes colleagues, honorable members, let's not behave like we've come from somewhere we arrived. Honorable member, remember when we took over this country, we had nothing as the government, the democratic government. We had systems and institutions that existed with those individuals in. And to assume and think that they would have just walked away without a fight, in as the democratic government takes over this institution, I think will not be correct. Many of the people have forced and fought in this institution to say, let's have ensuring that we can be able to see. So the transitional methods and all those things really took some time in terms of handing over of power, administratively and practically so. I mean, even some of us would remember, President Thabo Mbeki even alluded to say, when he walked into the office as Deputy President, there was not even a single paper that existed in the office. Now, reconstructing all these cases, being able to go and build a solid case that can have people that can go before a court can't be assumed that can happen overnight, colleagues. I think that's where we need to acknowledge it. That I don't think, and I can say this upfront, from where I'm sitting, I've looked at evidence in front of me. I do not think that there was a deliberate act to sabotage it. But if there is, honorable members are more than free to approach the Commission of Inquiry so that they can provide that evidence, so that those who have done so can be brought to book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think that is reassuring that your department is determined to ensure that the perpetrators of apartheid matters are brought to book. Because apartheid was declared a crime against humanity. Please do that for the sake of the victims' families. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 171 asked by Honorable Nuwe, which deals with the issue of state capture cases. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. The NPA has made progress in responding to the state capture corruption matters, both in terms of the number of high-profile cases enrolled and by removing the profit from crime through the work of the NPA's Asset Forfeiture Unit. Since the submission of the report to the President, IDEC has been dealing with 120 recommendations by the State Capture Commission, which are dealt with under 37 cases. Of these cases, 82 recommendations comprising of 20 cases are still under investigation. 23 recommendations comprising of 9 cases are before the court. 4 recommendations comprising of 2 cases have been finalized. 11 recommendations comprising of 5 cases are under consideration for authorization, while IDEC decided not to prosecute 1 case involving 1 recommendation. IDEC is also dealing with state capture-related matters where no specific recommendations were made by the Chief Justice Zondo. These are 57 cases, 28 cases are before the court, 23 are under investigations, and 6 are being considered for authorization. If we can indicate as well, Honorable Member, the enrolled cases are very complex, most with more than 10 accused persons and entities. The accused persons normally bring interlocutory applications, change legal representatives consistently, whom then apply for postponements, which delays matters. IDEC only came into operation in August 2024 and has been focused on this work. Therefore, the recruitment of investigators only commenced recently. So the issue of investigative capacity still affects IDEC's ability to finalize investigations within reasonable period of time. And as you have heard, the IDEC always opposes these applications and apply in terms of Section 342A of the CPA to force the defense to trial. IDEC also collaborates with other stakeholders such as the DPCI on investigations, SARS for tax prosecution, AFU and SIU to recover lost funds. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The originator of the question is Honorable Nuwe from the Free State, the Central Province. Any question, Honorable Nuwe, or comment?
Thank you very much, House Chair, and thank you, the Minister, for the comprehensive and elaborative response. I believe that even those who doubt that the department is indeed attending to the outcome of the Zondo Commission cases, they are listening wherever they are. And further on, Minister, in the light of pervasive capture of key institutions of the state as part of the state capture mechanization, has the department vetted investigators and prosecutors in the National Prosecuting Authority as part of the preempting deliberate sabotage and compromising of some cases of dubious ends? Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Nuwe. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Nuwe. Indeed, there is consistent vetting of those who work within the environment that we do, and also within the prosecuting authority, so that we can ensure that people who are doing this work are not compromised. But as I said earlier on, over and above those that are the vetting, we have actually requested that all those who are in the employ of NPA must go through lifestyle audits. And that we believe will assist us to be able to deal with those that could find themselves in the wrong side of the law instead of prosecuting people. And we'll deal with that. And we also call upon public, if there are cases that you know, or individuals within our ranks that you know that are acting outside what they are supposed to do, to be able to alert us. Whistleblowing is important so that we can continue to protect. We move from the basis of knowing that the people have good interest in serving the country. And if such is not happening, we do rely on the public and everybody else, but within even our systems, to be able to say, we will take a full responsibility, but also bring them to book in terms of prosecution. You would have seen the spokesperson recently going out indicating some of the prosecutors that were found on the wrong side of the law being prosecuted. So there's a lot of work that is being done to ensure that we protect the state from interference, but also ensuring that we can bring those who do wrong into book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable du Plessis, a delegate from Mpumalanga, the home of the God's window. Over to you, Honorable du Plessis.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Just a correction, I come from the province of Champions. I come from Gauteng.
I thought it was Boshoff. I'm sorry, yes. That's from Ejozi. Gauteng, Maboneng.
Thank you very much. Chair, thank you, Minister, for the list of actions to come to ensure investigations and potential consequences. However, what tangible assurance does South Africa have that the Zondo Commission was not only established to appease the understandable anger of voters, but that real consequences will come from these investigations, especially with some individuals implicated by the report who are current sitting members of the 7th Parliament? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Duplessis. I think the issue and the assurance is through accountability, where we would consistently report on progress that is being made, as I have alluded, in terms of the number of recommendations versus the investigation, and where are they in which stages. And many of them we do see for ourselves as they appear before court. But also what we have as a mechanism is that we report, there's a report that is submitted to the President regularly in terms of progress on the implementation, and is submitted through Cabinet on the progress on the implementation of the state capture recommendation. So there is mechanisms of accountability, but also holding us accountable to be able to see this work. And we have said to the NPA as well that they should be able to do their work without interference, without fear or favor. And I have assured them as the minister that I will not interfere with their work. They should be able to do their work as expected by South African public. But also we must commend the work that has been done by the Asset Forfeiture Unit, being able to exceed the target and recovering the money. This is what is important, to be able to take back the money that belongs to the state, that is so much needed. And I must say, honorable members, if we look at what the Kara money does, for example, when you look at the drones at the Border Management Authority that they are using, it's money from Kara. This is what AFU has been able to collect. When you look at Operation Valamukoti, is the money that comes from Kara. This is the money that AFU through under NPA has been able to recover so that we can be able to fight crime. So recovering this money is quite important because it helps us to fight other areas of crime, including some of the areas now that we are looking. For example, the support of social development is also through Kara. We've been able to support that. So we'll continue to do that as part of supporting even gender-based violence. We'll be able to, as we get this money back, be able to support some of the work. We said we should look at Tutuzela centers and Kara money being able to support Tutuzela centers. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the extensive response which you have just provided. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Keza, a delegate from Mpumalanga, the province of the Rising Sun. Honorable Keza. Honorable Keza, I'm going to count to 3. If you don't come into the platform, I'll call the next questioner. 1, 2, 3. Yes? Keza?
Sorry about the recent changes, Chair, into the question. If you can just bear with me.
All right, can I ask the next delegate to answer when you're sorting yourself out?
Yes, Chair.
The next question, follow-up question, will come from Honorable Peter, a delegate from Eastern Cape, the home of legends. Over to you, Honorable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling with a network, but I'll try my best. Good evening, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, a recent report have revealed that the National Prosecuting Authority still does not have full access to the Zondo Commission database, a critical tool in holding those implicated in state capture accountable. The continued delays raises serious concerns about whether your department is truly committed to transparency and justice, or whether certain individuals are being shielded from prosecution. Why has the National Prosecuting Authority still not granted full unrestricted access to the Zondo Commission database? Can you give this House a clear assurance that no political interference or internal efforts to protect implicated individuals who are behind these delays. I thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Peter. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peter. Let me indicate that when I got into the portfolio, first thing I saw was headlines around this matter, where NPA was saying they do not have access. I immediately convened a meeting between the two teams to understand where the problem was. We did put together a team between the IDEC and the Professor Musala, who is responsible for the database, and they've been working very well. I can assure you that NPA currently has access to the database and there is no hindrance. And I've committed to the team that should there be any problem, they should be able to flag it to me and I will definitely intervene. So where I'm sitting, Honorable Member, there's not been a problem in terms of access to the database by NPA, and therefore this has not been an inhibitor or a blockage for them to be able to do their work. So that matter was old as last year. This year has been closed. Actually, we closed it in January already. You'd have seen a statement issued by both leading by the DG and the NPA and DPP. So that matter was long closed. We do not have it as a current matter, and there's no need for me to further say anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Over to you, Honorable Keza.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I don't know. Maybe I should apologize for the delay and in addition for nature. Given the identified challenges in prosecuting state capture cases, what specific time frames or milestones have you put in place in collaboration with the National Prosecuting Authority and the Hawks to ensure measurable progress and accountability in the prosecution of these cases? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Keza. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Keza, I think let's also still, while we are there, separate the role of the minister, because the minister must not interfere in prosecutorial decisions of the NPA. So what we do is to continue to support them, create a conducive environment for them to work. For example, like they were saying that there was a challenge with access to records. We've made sure that they have access to records, and therefore they must be able to do their work. They must work, and they've continued to report that they are collaborating with the Hawks, as you say, collaborating with SIU, IDEC is working with everybody. So that end to end, there's work that is being done, closing gaps of investigation, but making sure that the capacity that is needed for the people that is there is consistently improved. So where there is a need for more people to come and assist, that will be done through the NPA request if they need to be with me. But most of the powers are within the NPA to be able to find the capacity that they need to be able to deal with the work. So in that regard, yes, we'll continue to support, but we will not interfere. We'll not even ask who they are prosecuting for what. And I've made it a decision, Honorable Keza, that I would not even ask, even if the law allows me through Section 33 to ask for files, I will not ask for a file, because I want to build confidence in the work that they are doing, that there isn't a political interference, but also to protect myself so that people don't say that I'm chasing them, I'm making them being prosecuted. And in that way, we now know that we can build an effective system, but build an NPA that is working for the country without fear or favor.